Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I value my safety and the safety of my family, and I appreciate the police and the legal system, which makes me today a so-called right-wing extremist. And it's only going to get worse if Hillary is elected. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and it's Monday with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and of course some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them, get on the route, service 734-6969. Right now, without further ado, let's have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Hey, buddy, give us your good set of pipes and give us the pledge.
Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And by the way, in case I forget, Wheels, good morning to you.
Good morning to you, too, sir.
All right, my friend. Thank you very much. Time for the weather, and the weather is brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Oh, these are good people. Oh, they've got so much going on over there, and they've got all kinds of tile, and they've got all kinds of new carpet. And by the way, they will give you a free pad with the carpet if you'll just stop in and check with them today, or give them a call at 678-6945. Whatever you need to make your house a home. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Right now, here's the weather.
Well, good morning as we saddle up and ride on this November 7th. And here's your weather forecast for the week. And it's going to be really, really nice. Not really feeling like November. Today, partly cloudy skies, high of 58 with an overnight low of 34. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, 63 with an overnight low of 37. Wednesday through Friday, wow, it is going to be absolutely beautiful. Sunny skies, highs are going to be in the low to mid-60s and lows in the mid-30s. Yesterday's high was 60. The overnight low was 33. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Thank you, Gina. Always. She does a great job. Appreciate her. Gina, and the weather brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for that blue door. Caller, I'm going to be right with you. You stay tuned. Don't go away. Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley says, come on in. Bring all your winter coats. If you still haven't got them cleaned, well, you know this great weather is going to end sooner or later. It's going to get chilly, wintertime, so make sure you've got your coats all clean and ready to go. Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. And don't forget, if you've already been up hunting, all done for the year, take your sleeping bags in there to get them clean. Don't leave them laying around like that with all the Cheetos and Fritos and everything. Get them cleaned right now at Darrow's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, the best. Oh, and talking about the best, you also have to mention SafeLink Internet, 677-8000. That's the number to call for fast, reliable Internet service. I'm telling you, and they've got a great team of tech support over there at SafeLink Internet. You get a hold of them today. Tell them Zeb sent you, 677-8000. SafeLink Internet, you call them today. Well, good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, Good morning, Zeb.
Hello, Tony.
You and I are on the same page when it comes to Hillary Clinton. She's broken every law on the book, and as far as I'm concerned, if she gets in, I will not obey anything she's put out there.
I won't either. I'm to the point where I am going to be very, very reckless in my statements this morning, and I will not support her. I will not join in lockstep behind a Gestapo that goes against everything that I stand for, everything that I do not agree with, and I will not be in unison or in a kind of a banding together. I will not do it, and I agree with you.
Oh, yeah, and by the way, I met Senator Crapo and his wife at one of our local restaurants Friday.
Oh, good.
Nice guy.
Good
stand-up guy.
Well, he is, and I am supporting Mike for re-election. I want everybody to know that. I disagreed with some of his statements. I disagreed with the way he handled certain things. But in general, I've always been supportive of Mike Crapo.
Okay, I won't hold you up any longer, Zeb. I just wanted to get my thoughts in this morning.
Well, hey, God bless you, man. Say hello to that lovely wife, Mary, okay?
I certainly will. Thanks,
all right.
Zeb.
Thank you, sir. Hey, don't forget, vote yes next Tuesday, tomorrow. Good heavens, it's come up on us all so fast. Vote yes tomorrow. November 8th on HJR5. Your voice needs to be heard, and you should always be able to hold our state government accountable. Vote yes on HJR5. It encourages better communication and cooperation within our branches of state government. Vote yes on HJR5. Paid for by Speaker Scott Bedke, Representative Fred Wood, and Senator Kelly Anthon. Caller, I'll be right there. Bear with me a few minutes, if you would, please. Also, don't forget that Jack Johnson is running for Twin Falls County Commissioner, District 3. Very responsive to our needs. We need this man in office, balanced approach to economic and agricultural needs, and he wants to work for you in Twin Falls County as Commissioner, District 3, Jack Johnson, paid for by Elect Jack Johnson for Commissioner, Darren Kyle, Treasurer. And also Steve Hartkin running for re-election, State Representative, District 24B. Got to get him in there, got to keep him in there as a strong Republican incumbent for re-election to the Idaho House of Representatives. Very strong supporter of the Second Amendment and, of course, supports our right to life and water rights here in Idaho. Steve Hartkin on tomorrow, November 8th. Vote yes, and paid for by Steve Hartkin Campaign Committee. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Thank you.
Morning, Zeb. I have not heard anything on the major networks about this. Maybe you can comment. But the headlines read, FBI agent behind Hillary Clinton's email leaks found dead in murder-suicide. Have you heard or seen anything on that?
No, and I've talked to some people already back in the East Coast of Washington, D.C. this morning, and also New York. Nothing substantial, nothing reliable. And Deanne is, as a matter of fact, Deanne is on that case right now, trying to find out rumors, truth, etc. And as soon as we hear anything, I will let you know. I will say this, and I'm going to be very emphatic about it. After I heard this so-called excuse by James Comey to let everything go and not have any charges pressed against Hillary, I'm just going to say this. These are my words. The Department of Justice got to the director of the FBI, James Comey, and justice in this country is in jeopardy.
Well, I agree with you there. That's what I thought for sure, that him and his wife are probably the next in line. This FBI agent was probably just the first. If they continue to proceed, they'll probably just proceed up the line. And I really think that it's a crying shame that the head of the FBI cannot stand up and say what he thinks without being threatened. So,
yeah.
You can comment on that when you get a chance. I sure appreciate it.
I will, and I do appreciate your call. God bless you, man. I will say this on the air this morning right now, that people that I know on the East Coast and people that have been following politics for 20, 30, maybe 40 years or more have commented to me about a danger zone. That danger zone is encompassing and encircling the power of the Clinton political machine. A lot of people are not going to come straight out and say, this is the way it is, because they're scared. There is a fear factor from the Clinton political machine. And I honestly believe that this election, if Hillary is elected, and these are my own personal thoughts, I'll be held accountable for them. I'm not adding or aiding anyone's personal thoughts. These are my own. I personally think that our personal freedoms, our Constitution, our amendments, our structure of living with our First Amendment, the free speech, Second Amendment, the right to bear firearms, we are in so much jeopardy if tomorrow the election goes towards the Clinton machine and Hillary.
I agree with you. Thank you very much, Seth.
Thank you, sir. And right now, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And, of course, they've got all your furnace filters. Now, I know you're sitting there saying, well, gee, it's a beautiful day outside. Yes, it is. And tomorrow looks like another beautiful day. But sooner or later, the hammer will drop on the nail, and it's going to get cold. Well, you better be ready to have that furnace work efficiently. At 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, Ramsey Heating and Electric has all your furnace filters. Stop in and see them today. All your heating and electric needs, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric, the best. Oh, hey, I'll tell you what, you want to treat yourself. Are you going to be doing anything in town today? Well, just go a little bit early. Stop at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley. And I can't help it, I'm drooling already when I think about these pumpkin cream pancakes. Let me just whip this on your ears. 2 great big fluffy pancakes made out of pumpkin, layered and topped with pumpkin cream, eggs, hash browns, and choice of bacon or sausage links. Or try this, the red velvet pancake puppies with white chocolate chips and cream cheese. Oh, it's good. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, and 291 Poline in Twin Falls. America's Diner, Denny's Restaurant. Doesn't that sound good? Woo! All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to read a letter to you and to me that was in the Times News the other day. And it is the most ego-centered, pathetically, absolutely letter of damning elitism. Written by a James Ricks in Twin Falls. And I only can hope that this person is listening as I condemn him and his elitist attitude. I've got to read this to you because it is very significant as to the tone and the persona of the elitists in this country. And I'm going to read that to you in just a minute. Don't forget Jim Patrick running for State Senate re-election, District 25. He says thank you to everybody that supported him in the past, and he's looking forward to your vote tomorrow, November 8th. Jim, a 40-year farmer, 20-year bank director, and has been serving us on many, many committees up at the legislature, and he urges you to vote yes on HJR 5. Paid for by Jim Patrick for Senate District 25 for tomorrow. Thank you. Also, quickly want to remind you, bad cough again, want to remind you about Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. Yes, I was in the pool last week. Yes, it really helps. Wow. I walked on that pool treadmill. I mean, hey, I'm a marathon walker now. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Easy to find, easy to make an appointment at 678-1191, and they can help you get back to being you. Nick Greenwell heads up all the physical therapists there. They know all the exercises that can help you. Please make an appointment today. 678-1191, Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, serving you. Really nice folks. Here's that letter, and I'm going to have to slap myself every now and then so I really don't cut loose on some of the verbiage about this James Ricks that I would like to. He is, and I'll say this up front, a pathetic elitist. It's a rather short letter, and I'll read it as it was written in the paper. I note that on the front page of the October 27th edition of the Times News, the headline shouts that fewer in Idaho go on to college. The article goes on to say that this is a continuing trend. Then further down the front page is an article that states Trump leads in Idaho, except in the well-educated Mormon areas of eastern Idaho, Boise's well-educated North End, and I might add, wealthy and well-educated Blaine County, Clinton holds a slim lead. Am I the only one who sees a correlation here? That the educated and better off see Trump as the clear danger that he poses to America. James Ricks, R-I-C-K-S, Twin Falls. This letter shows you how repulsive the left can be in minimizing certain groups and maximizing their elitism. You know, I was just appalled when I read this letter that the well-educated know, the well-educated understand, and the rest of you, oh, you little peons, you don't understand, we're going to take over, we're the elitist, we're the well-educated. That letter just repulsed me. And I really do hope, and I pray, that I run in sometime to this James Ricks in Twin Falls. This is snobism at its worst. And if this is representative of the Democratic Party as a whole, which in many instances I think it does represent people like Deborah Silver and Keith Rourke and others, the Democratic Party has severe problems. Your thoughts are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, it's like, I'm better than you. My nose is up in the air. Why, I will look down on the little people. Disgusting. Barry Equipment and Rental. Don't forget 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, and Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Listen to what they're offering for you. 0% interest on 48 months if you buy any used rental Bobcat equipment. 0% interest on 48 months? Wow. You better call, stop in, take a wagon train, or ride a bicycle, whatever. Get into Barry Equipment and Rental today because they have all the equipment that you need to get the job done right. Jerome, Twin Falls, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Barry Equipment and Rental. What's the matter? Don't quit me. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Well, an example of what you're saying is over the weekend, Jesse Waters had done a piece where he went to West Virginia, and these people are devastated. They don't have a job. They grew up there. It's their home, so they stay. And they're alcoholics, drug addicts. They get food stamps. And this is what happens to people who want to work, but when things are taken from them in a criminal manner, you say to yourself, who the hell is going to stop these people?
Yeah.
So, in the panel after they showed the piece, that Roginski, that prostitute, she said, Tom was talking about how Trump wants to get the coal mines up and running again, and she matter-of-factly, arrogantly, and this is how they all feel. They talk amongst themselves. Well, you aren't going to get these coal mines up and running again. They'll never reopen them. You'll never do that. And then, so the option is what? What job is it we're going to do?
Yeah.
Are we going to sell coffee to each other?
Yeah. Randy, right now, the idiocy of the left, the incompetency of the left. You know, Hillary has made some really inflammatory statements, but nobody calls her on the carpet for it. She said she wants to close down the coal mining industry. And these people, she referred to them as these people that are out of work as coal miners and in the coal mining industry, they'll have to find other sources of employment. Randy, let me just throw this at you, and don't give me a long answer because I'm short on time, but how would you feel if all of a sudden you were a coal miner and you had a wife and 2 small children and you'd paid for a home and maybe 2 acres and you were trying to do and have the American dream, and all of a sudden some politician like Hillary pulled the rug out from underneath you and said, I'm sorry, but you're going to lose your property, you're going to lose your investment, you're going to lose your equity, you're going to lose where you work, you're going to have to move to another location, you're going to have to pull up roots and get out of here, Jack, because you're not welcome here anymore. How would you feel?
Well, you know how I feel. See, this is the United Nations wanting to sweep us into the cities. We all ride public transportation. We don't own property, and we're fed, Soylent Greens.
Yeah.
And so, whatever it is, you see, they'll do it to the farmers. They'll do it to the ranchers, dairymen. They'll keep us off the public lands. I'm telling you, Zeb, it is so deep and dark. The more I read, the more mad I get. We need some help.
I couldn't agree more, and I thank you because you've brought up points that need to be considered by all before they go to the polls and vote for the left, the insidious left, the Democrats. I wouldn't put a D on my ballot if there was a gun to my head. I will not do that. Randy, thank you very much.
Well, that's what they're doing, putting a gun to our head.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
Thanks, Zeb.
Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Honestly, folks, think about this. The elitism, that letter that I just read by this James Ricks in Twin Falls, how dare he? How dare he? Well, the educated know, and we're better off, and we can see the clear danger. You poor little, no, you don't have a college degree, so you're not very smart. Well, you're out there working with your head. Well, you're not very smart. We know. That kind of an attitude absolutely repulses me. And it's that attitude that has to be defeated in this country if we're going to ever get America back on its feet, working again, and respecting each other again. James Ricks, you are a pathetic elitist. And shame on you. Don't forget Mount Harrison Audiology, and, of course, with the lovely Dr. Christine Pickup. And your hearing screenings, I urge you to get a hearing screening. I urge you to, if you're having problems, go over there. It's fun. It really is kind of fun to take that hearing screening, and very enjoyable circumstance, but extremely serious when it comes up helping you with your hearing. That's what it's all about. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Call for an appointment today, 312-0957. Be sure and make an appointment at Mount Harrison Audiology today, right across from the Minidoka Hospital emergency room. I am going to give away some cookies right now. Before I do that, I want to extend a happy birthday to a lovely, lovely lady, and I mean that. Her and her husband are so sweet and just absolutely the nicest people on earth. Janelle Ford, happy birthday to you. Janelle is celebrating a birthday today, and we wish her the very, very best. We're going to give away those cookies, and first-time winners only, please. And it's provided by Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert. And one of Sophie's waitresses is doing a senior project at the restaurant, Operation Christmas Child. Bring in any item for a child, toothbrushes, socks, undies, crayons, backpacks, anything a child could use, and they're going to be shipped all over the United States. What a great senior project. And when you bring an item in, you'll get a free cup of coffee or a hot cup of chai. chocolate, whatever. Hey, isn't that nice? Isn't that nice at Sophie's Chatterbox on the square in Rupert? Now, here's the question. For a dozen cookies from Sophie's Chatterbox, name the actor, the real name of the actor that played Hoss on Bonanza. This is an easy one. Name the actor that played Hoss on Bonanza. Big old Hoss. And what was his name? The real name. Please call me 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call, name the actor that played Hoss on Bonanza. I want to remind you, too, I got some more of these political ads to do. Boy, we're on the last couple of days, minutes, etc. Jack Nelson, CSI Zone 3 trustee, wants your vote. Member of the Jerome County Planning and Zoning Committee, a member of the Mid-Snake Water Commission, and a former CSI teacher. He knows CSI and he wants to help CSI grow. Jack Nelson for CSI Zone 3 trustee. Vote tomorrow for Jack Nelson. Caller, I'll be right there. Hang with me just a moment, I promise. Also want to remind everybody about Roger Morley running for Jerome County Commissioner, District 3. He has served as Jerome County Commissioner for 2 terms, wants to have another. He's also served terms as Idaho Senate lobbyist and Jerome County Planning and Zoning Commissioner. Vote tomorrow for Roger Morley, Jerome County Commissioner, District 3, paid for by Morley for Commissioner, Lorraine Morley, Treasurer. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Dan Blocker.
Who is this?
Daryl McFarland.
Let me write your name down there. Daryl, do you like cookies?
Yes, sir.
Well, all you have to do is just call Sophie's Chatterbox on the square in Rupert. Tell them when you're coming in after your cookies and just have a good time. And bring me a cookie after you win.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks, buddy. Daryl McFarland had the winning name, Dan Blocker. Unfortunately, that man passed away much, much too soon. He was really kind of a gentle giant, and I enjoyed him. Dan Blocker was the name. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle on the landline. We would love to hear from you. Don't forget, too, while I'm waiting for your calls, Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey's at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Okay, let's just call a spade a spade. James Comey, the FBI, have backed off. I'm saying my thoughts on this morning. You don't have to agree with me. You can chastise me if you wish. I think most will agree with me. I think that the Department of Justice, Loretta Lynch, to use these words, got the message to Comey. Back off. Back off. Do not prosecute Hillary. Or else. I said this earlier, and I'm going to stand behind it. I'm not ever on this program going to weaken to the so-called powers that be. I believe the Clinton machine is that powerful. I believe that the Clinton political machine is that menacing. And I believe that regardless of stature, regardless of position, regardless of who, in what department, the Clinton power machine is dangerous. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb, good morning.
Yes, sir.
Hey, I had a few things to talk about. One of them was Hoss. I worked at a casino outside of Reno with a fella almost 90 years old, and he knew Hoss personally and had served him 2 steaks and 8 glasses of wine in one sitting. He said the man was enormous and a wonderful person.
You know, I'd heard, I'm glad you brought a little levity into the conversation this morning, because Dan Blocker was a gentle giant, and I'd heard that he could sit down at any restaurant, and there's a place down in Amarillo, Texas, where they've got this huge, I can't even think of how big the steak is right now, and they were afraid somebody like Dan Blocker would come in and just kind of wipe them out.
Yeah, well, there was another restaurant on 431, Highway 431, on the way down to Reno, because they filmed a lot of Bonanza up on in the incline side of Lake Tahoe on the Nevada side. When you see the map burning,
right,
that's incline all the way down to Carson City,
right,
and engulfing Gardnerville. But my buddy said another time his girlfriend worked at the Christmas Tree restaurant and served him 7 hamburgers in a row.
Oh, my. 7 hamburgers. I'm lucky if I can get one of them down. Hey, caller, anything else real quick, because I got 1,000 callers waiting this morning. What's going on?
All I wanted to say, Zeb, is thank you so much for your show. And I'm really afraid that our system is so corrupt that no one's going to stop this.
I agree with you.
God bless you for being on the air, and thank you. I enjoy listening to you.
Thank you very much. I tell you what, folks, and I mean this before I take the next caller, I'm not going to weaken to threats. I'm not going to weaken to innuendos by the left. I'm not going to weaken to these people. As a matter of fact, for the time that I have left on this earth, I am absolutely going to be straightforward and on the attack. I am not going to give up. Thank you so much. I appreciate your call. God bless you. I'm going to take the next call in just a minute. I'm running about maybe half hour behind. Bear with me a minute. Don't forget Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Zach and the rest of the crew serving you wonderful people at Minnecasia Sales. All your windows, like the western windows with the cold winter weather coming. And I don't tell you, you don't want any of those cold drafts. Get those windows installed, and they can help send a contractor over to do the work, too. Minnecasia Sales, bringing you Dr. History on Tuesdays at 10:06, 1321 East Main Street in Burley. Hello, Zach. How you doing this morning? Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zach.
Yes, sir.
You know that those deal about James Comey, it's just disgusting to me. You remember, if I could express to you how I think this was, here's a man standing there in the middle, and he's got the good people on one side and the bad people on the other side, and he's just standing there facing one way and then the other, and he just didn't know which way to go.
Let me ask you something, Keith. Now, you've been a sharp guy, a great businessman all your life, and let me just put this to you. Why would Comey and the FBI the first time let everything slide off the table and fall on the floor and say, oh, well, there's nothing going on here, no indictments? Then, after a lot of review and a lot of their field agents saying, wait a minute, we can't let this slide, and the agents of the FBI, were demanding that the investigations be opened up, so they reopened it, and then second time around, Comey kowtows to the DOJ again. This has got egg all over it, Keith.
Yeah, and here's another scenario. You're a businessman and you go to the bank to get a loan, and the banker, after reviewing it, says, okay, you got the loan. And then you're waiting, and then 2 days later, then he tells you he can't do that.
Yeah.
Because somebody up above told him he couldn't do that. And that's what this corrupt government is doing. It starts at the very top.
Absolutely.
Obama.
I couldn't agree more.
Loretta Lynch, and then it filters on down.
I agree.
This man, he don't know what to do. He don't know what. He knows what is right, but his life is in jeopardy if he don't do what he's told.
I honestly believe that, and I will not mince words. Keith, thank you for bringing those points up. I got to get into the break-in. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You bet.
God
Bye-bye.
bless. Don't forget, Big Green says thank you. Put Wednesday, November 9th, day after tomorrow, on your calendar to attend the Customer Appreciation and Open House at Stotts Equipment John Deere at 119 Oberlin and Burley. Food, fun, and prizes at Stotts Equipment, your John Deere dealer, saying thank you, and let's farm together in the future. Remember, 8 to 4. Open House, Stotts Equipment, 119 Overland and Burley. Go green. And don't forget, too, before I take some more calls, Ark Animal Hospital. Hello, Dr. Bill and the whole crew over there at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn. They have warm hearts for cold noses. They love animals. I'll tell you what, it's a mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all, and they really appreciate your business at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Heyburn. Warm hearts for cold noses. Thank you. All right, give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. You know, you don't have to be a rocket scientist. You don't have to be one of the Democratic elitists like James Ricks in Twin Falls that is so much smarter than the rest of us to look at the incompetency of Hillary and the Democrats and the illegalities and the egotistical attitude of, I don't care, this is the way we're going to do it anyway. That's her attitude. The maid, little poor Maria, the housekeeper for Hillary, was told to take the emails, separate them, and put them on the desk. These are classified emails. Information about our troops. Information about our troop placements. Information about what's going on in our government. And the maid, Maria, sorts the emails, and everybody sits back and says, well, I guess that wasn't just a very good thing to do. Ha, ha, ha. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. If you don't think for 5 seconds, come on, America, that the Department of Justice and Loretta Lynch and that little casual meeting aboard an airplane in Phoenix didn't mean anything, I pity you. I really do. I pity you. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I really do urge you to go vote tomorrow. I really do. I am... I got to tell you, man, I'm upset. I'm going to go to the polls right after the program tomorrow with a vengeance. I want to talk. We're going to talk later to Representative Bert Stevenson, but I got to tell you that when I look at some of these races, and I know some of my audience that's listening right now will be offended by this. That's okay. But I'm going to say this very, very loudly and very clearly, that I believe there have been and there always will be very great women who are running for public office and absolutely will and can do a very good job. I do not believe the Democratic choices for, like in District 24, are even close to being competent, are even close to being a servant to us in the southern part of the state of Idaho. I'll come out and say loudly, no, absolutely not to Catherine Talkington running against Representative Steve Hartkin. I will come out and say a resounding, even louder no to Deborah Silver, who is running against Senator Lee Hyder. Absolutely not. They, if those two women are elected, will do nothing for our state in the legislative sessions. Absolutely nothing. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Do not forget the urgent cares. I am blessed to have Kyle James and his great people at Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, 382 North Overland, Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin Falls, and Jerome Urgent Care at 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. And they've got the flu shots. Don't forget to get your flu shot. I know Deanna and I have got to get ours either today or tomorrow. I know I put it off. I shouldn't. And I urge you to stop in and remember always, minor emergencies, major care. They can take care of you. Here's Gina with the weather.
Well, good morning as we saddle up and ride on this November 7th. And here's your weather forecast for the week. And it's going to be really, really nice. Not really feeling like November. Today, partly cloudy skies, high of 58 with an overnight low of 34. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, 63 with an overnight low of 37. Wednesday through Friday, wow, it is going to be absolutely beautiful. Sunny skies, highs are going to be in the low to mid-60s and lows in the mid-30s. Yesterday's high was 60. The overnight low was 33. That is your weather for Zebeth the Rain.
Great job, Gina. Thank you. Brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Twin Falls Urgent Care in Twin Falls, Riverview Urgent Care in Burley, and Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. Go to their website, urgentcareofidaho.com. All right, I need some calls. Come on, give me a jingle. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Well, you know, I want a lady to call me right now on this. Where does Bubba Bill Clinton come off as saying that Hillary deserves the presidency? Where is it written that so-and-so or anybody at any time in our nation's history deserves the presidency? She's worked so hard for it. She has earned. How do you earn the presidency? You know, this really is offensive to me. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Hey, this is Jeff, your trucker buddy. I haven't talked to you in a while.
Yes, sir.
Well, gone through this screaming match and pointing fingers and slinging mud and all that stuff. And we got one more day, and then we go do our thing, and hopefully the outcome will be to our favor, you know, to the people that actually think about what could happen to this country if the wrong person is elected. But this elitist thing that you were talking about, it just goes to show me as well, and prove something I said a long time ago, the more educated you are, the more stupid you are in politics.
I have a tendency to agree with that somewhat.
Yeah. But I'm just hoping that the people of America have been woken up and that they will elect Trump as our next president. I'll tell you what, it doesn't matter who is elected, Trump or Hillary, there's going to be violence somewhere. Somebody's going to be unhappy with the outcome somewhere, and I'm afraid there's going to be rioting, especially in the bigger cities. But we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm glad it's almost over. I'm going to go do the thing tomorrow, and hopefully the outcome will be to save our nation. I still believe that if Hillary's elected, our country as we know it will no longer be a constitutional republic. We will be turned more or less into a democratic dictatorship.
I think your words this morning, of all the calls that you've given me, were the most respected and, quite frankly, best put together. Thank you very much for your call. I appreciate it.
And on that thing about that steak down in Amarillo, Texas, is the Big Texan Center, and it's a 72-ounce sirloin.
Oh, my, yes.
And the human that finished that in the quickest amount of time was Andre the Giant, 23 minutes.
Okay. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate your call. God bless you, man. Thanks. 72-ounce steak. Oh, my. No, this is ridiculous saying that somebody deserves a presidency or she's a woman. Some of the women on television say, oh, she'll be the first woman president. That's the reason we're voting for her. What? What? Really, what kind of qualifications is that? That's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Oh, and by the way, a little note here for you on the Clinton Foundation. All that glitters is not gold. It's supposed to be a charity. Well, we are now finding out that the Clinton Foundation has paid for Chelsea's wedding and paid a monthly stipend to her and her husband for about the last 10 years. Isn't that wonderful? Oh, give them a hand. They managed to get an income out of a charitable organization. The money that was taken out of there, not exactly kosher as far as the way it was used. But, of course, we won't have any investigations. Why, the DOJ will put a stymie to that. Here's one other little note that really bothered me this morning about Democrats and the dim light bulb attitude that they have. Oh, they're supposed to be so highly educated. Yes, they go to a party. Well, where did you graduate? You know, I can't imagine myself doing that, going to a party or something and saying, well, okay, where did you graduate? Oh, you didn't? Well, then I can't be friends with you because you're less than I am. I'm an elitist. What a terrible attitude. Hold on, caller. The Terry McAuliffe, a used to be real close inner circle of the Clintons and still is, and now the governor of Virginia has just pardoned over 67,000 felons in time to go vote tomorrow. And I'll bet you a vanilla milkshake. I wonder what party they'll vote for, knowing that the Democrats pardoned them out of prison in time to go vote. Gee, think about it. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Hey, Zeb, real quick. Only 4% of the Clinton Foundation goes to their charities. The other 96% is divvied up between themselves.
Imagine that.
4%.
Yeah. Imagine that. And imagine here's little lovable Chelsea. Everybody thought she was such a quiet little girl. She was a little vixen. She was always in trouble. She was always yelling. She was so spoiled, and many people that worked in the administration said she was a brat. And oh yeah, but the Clinton Foundation is funding her and her husband and paid for the wedding, etc. You know, I wonder on the emails that Hillary said were all about Hillary's wedding. I wonder if maybe why those emails disappeared is because the emails were talking about how they can graft money out of the Clinton Foundation and use it to pay for the wedding. I'm just throwing this out to you. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I am so sick of the graft and corruption in our government. I'm telling you, I would like to just have everything tipped up on one end and let the doors open on the other end and get rid of the garbage. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. I get a chance to talk about somebody really good here for a few moments, and that's our Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They've got a winter driving resource guide, and it's one of the best I've ever seen. It talks about tire chains and how to install them. It talks about your old battery and what you need to look for and possibly get rid of the battery and get a new one. They're talking about how to safe drive on the snow, the ice, and the muck, and all the tires that'll do that for you. All the tires that'll do that for you. They're also talking about, you know, all the things that you need to check on, like front end alignment, shocks and struts, brake service, everything at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. Nobody better. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Here's what we have coming up for the rest of the morning. Next hour at 9:06, I've got my dear friend, and I just absolutely think a lot of this man and his lovely wife, Representative Bert Stevenson, coming on. Then at 9:30 with the Alliance Defending Freedom, we have Kevin Theriault. At 10:06 this morning, we're going to be listening to Susan Swift. She is excellent, and she's mad. She is mad and thinking that Hillary might win the presidency. And then at 10:32, kind of a provocative interview with Andrew Chavarria. Him and I probably will not agree on the subjects Probably we will have a little bit of a toe-to-toe stance. It could be and should be very interesting. So that's what's coming up for the remainder of this morning on Zeb at the Ranch. To the person that drove on my lawn over the weekend and dug great big divots with your tires, you are a complete moron, and I hope your transmission breaks down in the Mojave Desert. I really do wish you nothing but bad luck. Anyhow, I had to get that in. Now these words for Senator Mike Crapo, and then Wheels will take us up to CBS News. Welcome back, hour number 2, and Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, and of course some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services, always at your disposal.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
Locally owned and serving you, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Western Way Services. Call the number 734-6969. Your garbage is gone. It's out of there thanks to Western Way Services. Wheels, this good word for Senator Mike Crapo.
We made a promise to our veterans. Protect our freedoms, fight for liberty and against tyranny no matter where it is. And we will take care of you when you return home. But Washington's dropped the ball for our veterans. It's Idaho common sense. Make a promise, keep it. So Mike Crapo is fighting to make sure Washington keeps its promise.
When we asked them to go to dangerous places, our vets answered the call, bravely, for us. Now at home, too many of our veterans face long delays, unanswered appeals, difficult access to local doctors, long, expensive travel, frustration, and despair. It's a dishonor. I'm Mike Crapo, and I approve this message because we must keep our commitment to our vets. It's our turn to answer the call.
Fighting for our veterans, working for change. Mike Crapo for the U.S. Senate.
I'm Mike Crapo, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Crapo for Senate.
Thank you very much. And right now, before we get Representative Bert Stevenson on the phone, I want to remind you our weather forecast every morning at 8:06 when we start the program, sponsored by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Yep, whatever you need to make your house a home. Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Look for the blue door and stop in and see them today. Also, quickly, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, air conditioner, a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey's at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. I get an opportunity right now to talk to a very, very dear friend, a man that I have known for many years and I thoroughly trust. Former representative to this great state of Idaho and currently serving on the State Water Board, dear friend, Bert Stevenson. How are you this morning?
Well, Zeb, I'm really doing well. About to starve to death. I think I have to look forward to some crow or something that's supposed to come to my way. Hey, and I'm just proud of your Cubs.
Well, that's very nice of you to say, and I want to just mention this to you. As good a friend as you are, I would never subject you to that low-class treatment of eating crow. I personally am going to do one better because you're such a nice guy. I am going to take you and your lovely wife, Elaine, out. Even though I'm the victor, I feel compelled to help educate you on becoming a full-fledged Cubs fan.
Zeb, that's extremely kind of you, and I guess I'm still not giving up on my Indians. There's always next year.
Yes, there is. Bert, we don't have a next year in politics right now. This is a crucial election tomorrow, November 8th. And I invited Bert Stevenson on the program this morning to talk about some of these races and talk about the very sincere and very severe consequences that we're going to possibly see if the vote goes the wrong way. Bert, give me some of your thoughts. I've got a break coming up in about 5 minutes for a commercial break, but give me your thoughts about voting tomorrow, November 8th.
Well, I would hope that everyone, I'm not a big fan of early voting, but I would hope that everyone that has not voted goes tomorrow and votes their conscience. Now, when I say vote your conscience, you need to do a little studying and remember what it is. If we want to vote for Hillary, pick your reason why you want to, and that's fine. But remember, you won't have the same Supreme Court that we've got today or that we would have under a different circumstance. If your friend is Donald Trump, you'll have a better Supreme Court. And we'll have some of these onerous constitutional things that Obama has put in will be turned around. We'll get a chance to redo health care.
Right.
Now, we've got to have health care. I don't give that up. But how we approach it has to be a different way than it is now, or we're going to lose our health care system.
You know, Bert, I'm really glad that you emphasize those two issues if, and God forbid, I'm going to be very blunt about it, Hillary's elected president. The Supreme Court nominations, we will, it's not a supposition, it's a positive. If Hillary's elected as president, we are going to see a transition and a transformation of the Supreme Court into a very liberal court to the point where our First and Second Amendments are under extreme jeopardy. And also, we will see a continuation, not a repair or a repeal. We're going to see a continuation of more of the insane Obamacare. I'm really glad that you brought that up.
Anyway, those are some of the things, Zeb, that on that particular race that I feel really strong about. You've talked about Mike Crapo. I would think Mike will do us a great job. And I can tell you that I was a little disappointed, and you can believe that Elaine sent him an email explaining that she wasn't happy that he jumped right on to abandon Trump. Remember that we can all change.
Yep.
Now, I don't approve of what Trump did or what the tapes show. But I can tell you that when you go back in people's lives 10 or 11 years, be careful. You're on the wrong side of the issue when you say people can't change.
Absolutely. Bert, I'm going to do a commercial break. I've got 3 short commercials to do, and then I want to come back and I want to talk to you about the importance of voting from the top down all the way through the ballot, because we've got some other very important races. So bear with me just a minute. I'll be right with you. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget Lee Hyder wants your vote tomorrow to be reelected for State Senate seat District 24. The best always stand the test, and Idaho Senator Lee Hyder is one of the best with his diligence towards helping you and the state of Idaho. So remember, tomorrow when you go to the polls, vote for Lee Hyder. Re-election for State Senate seat District 24, paid for by Lee Hyder for Senate District 24. Also want to remind you to vote yes on HJR 5 tomorrow. Your voice needs to be heard, and you should always be able to hold our state government accountable. Vote yes on HJR 5. Don't let activist courts take away our legislature's authority to approve or reject agency rules. Vote yes on HJR 5. Paid for by Speaker Scott Bedke, Representative Fred Wood, and Senator Kelly Anthon. And last but not least, I want to urge everybody to vote and re-elect Jim Patrick for District 25 Senator. Jim is a 5th-generation Magic Valley resident, and he has served on the Agricultural, Education, and Business Committees at the legislature, and he wants you to vote yes on HJR 5. Jim Patrick, running for re-election, Republican District 25 seat in the Senate, paid for by Re-elect Patrick for Senator. All right, Bert Stevenson is on the phone with me, former representative. Bert, I'm going to ask you this. Your thoughts about some very important races. Senator Jim Patrick versus Scott McClure. Representative Steve Hartkin versus Catherine Talkington. Senator Lee Hyder versus Deborah Silvers. And HJR5. Those are some that come to mind. What are your thoughts?
Well, let's start with Jim Patrick and Scott McClure. Scott has run against me. He's run for quite a number of years. Scott's an honorable man and a hard worker, but he's on the wrong side of the ticket. He'll never have an opportunity for a chairmanship under the present regime, and so we need to do it. Jim Patrick is chairman of the Human Resources, and he serves on the Ag Committee and Education Committee. One of the things that I've been disappointed with most of those people is that they, the D ticket, they spend all of their time talking about education, and we have put a lot of money in education. Now let's go over to Lee Hyder. Is it Silver that's running against him, I believe?
Yes, it is.
And she's run for Secretary of State, and I can tell you that Lee Hyder is probably as effective. People used to talk about Laird Ney and how effective Laird was. Lee Hyder has taken a really good role. People are critical because he hasn't been able to accomplish and do the Medicaid gap, get it closed. Remember, he's only one person, and we have a lot of people that is really worried about that. I think they'll come to a conclusion here when we get past this national election. He'll do a good job there. And then he's also on Congress and Human Resources in the Senate and the Resource and Environment. Both those two gentlemen are in the Senate and do a good job. Now, the other one was Steve Hartkin.
Yes, Steve Hartkin versus Catherine Talkington.
Steve Hartkin is probably as deep a thinker as anybody I've worked with.
Mm-hmm.
And when he gets up on the floor to debate, he always has the facts, and he's really effective with it. He's chairman of the Congress and Human Resources in the House. He's on the Environment, Energy, and Technology Committee, along with Rev and Tax. Steve is a really hard one. Now, Steve's had some health problems in the past, but I can tell you it sure hasn't affected his mind, and he'll be really effective in these committees that he's on.
You know, Bert, one of the issues that needs to be talked about, and you of all people, you have the knowledge, ability to be very gracious in your remarks, but HJR5, I have taken a lot of heat from people saying, oh, we can't support HJR5. I believe we need HJR5, and I think it needs to be passed. I take issue with the governor and also the attorney general. I think I'm right and they're wrong. Go ahead and tell me what your thoughts are.
When was the last time, Zeb, that you ever found the Attorney General and the Governor on the same side of an issue? One of the reasons the Governor's supporting that, he appoints the agency heads. And when he appoints them, he tells them that he expects them to support him, and he in turn will support them. It's the agencies that make these rules that then the legislature, the House and the Senate, have opportunity to review and accept or reject them. In the 16 years I was there, every year there was a small number that we would reject, simply because they were rules, whether they came from Fish and Game, whether they came from the Department of Ag, didn't matter where they come from. It was difficult, would have been difficult for the public to live with. And so the legislature rejected it. If we don't have this in our Constitution, and the judges, both local and our Supreme Court justices are getting more liberal and liberal, and giving more and more power to the establishment. And I worry that if we don't have it in the Constitution, that someday Idaho won't be able to do that. Now, there's only about there's 22 or 24 states that can still do this. The other states have been, from their own Supreme Courts, have been denied the privilege of doing this. Idaho has been fortunate, and our Supreme Court has backed this up in the past. Remember, you're losing Jim Jones and some of these really solid people that represent the Constitution.
You know, I honestly believe, Bert, that there are quite a few very, very important races going on in this election tomorrow, November 8th. What would you say to people? And I've had this happen many times over the weekend. People say, well, I'm not going to vote. I don't like Hillary and I don't like Trump, so I'm going to stay home. The mindset just boggles me as to how people can refuse their patriotic duty and not go vote, because there is a long list of issues and people that need votes. What do you tell people that are non-voters?
Well, Zeb, I think it's because they're lazy. From the first thing, they don't want to get in and search out and see what's going on. The other thing is, some people have a tendency to want to, well, let's see who wins, and then I'll be supporting them, and I'll be a winner, whichever side it is. We used to call them mugwumps. Didn't know which side of the fence they were on.
I agree.
People have to step up, and then if you're going to live with whoever gets in, and if you want your neighbors to determine who's going to get in, then you be happy with whatever they do. And just love it, because that's what you got and you deserve it.
Let me ask you this question, Bert, and quite frankly, I've been very outspoken about my feelings in this regard. Tell me if I'm wrong. All through this election process, we have heard the left. We have heard Hillary's basic mantra that higher taxes, keeping Obamacare, and of course Supreme Court liberal nominees. The same old with Obama. I can't abide by that. I can't accept it. And they're asking all people that are on the losing side, if she wins and Trump loses, to kind of join in lockstep. I can't do that. I've got to remain a fighter and go against her policies. Am I wrong?
Well, Zeb, you're not wrong, and you can fight all you want, but once they get in, you live with what they do. It may not be what you want, but you have to live with it, because you're a law-abiding person. And you may not like it, and you scream and holler all you want, but once they get in, that's it. They're there. They make the game rules.
But are we to the point in our government, our nation's government right now, Bert, that somebody that is as absolutely crooked with all the different innuendos and policies and the Clinton administration with their past laundering of money and the foundation and everything else and her absolute elitist attitude, I can't accept that. I just absolutely hope America's not going down that trail forever.
Zeb, you're old enough to remember what happened to Nixon. He broke into the Democratic Party, and then he lied about it. Remember that because he lied, he had to resign. Now we have a candidate for the presidency who we know has lied about a dozen things or more, and everybody thinks that's fine. There ain't no problem with that. It's just a lie. What have our values over the last 30 years gone to, Zeb?
Yeah. Let me ask you a question that I think maybe you might not want to answer this question, but I talked about it in the first hour. I honestly believe in my heart of hearts that James Comey and the FBI have been kicked to the curb by the Department of Justice with threats that you'd better leave this issue alone. I honestly believe that with the meeting that Bill Clinton had with Loretta Lynch in that airplane in Phoenix, Arizona. Do you think I'm being far-reached and far-fetched on this? What are your thoughts?
No, Zeb, I think you're 100% right on this. And unfortunately, I don't know what the reasons Comey's made the decisions he has, but I can tell you he's getting all kinds of presents. When have you seen an election where the President of the United States spends more time of the last 2 months out campaigning for his replacement? Why did he do it? Because if Trump gets in, his legacy's gone.
Yeah.
If Hillary gets in, she'll make him really look good.
One final thought, Bert, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate your remarks this morning. Terry McAuliffe, a former inside the Clinton circle person, now the governor of Virginia, has pardoned over 67,000 felons so they can get out of prison in time to go vote. Many of the reports that I've read this morning say that could very easily, with that 67,000, tip the scales in favor of the left. What are your thoughts about these pardons by these governors right before the election?
Well, I'm really disappointed in our ability to pardon people for whatever reason. We've given these governors and the president the ability to be a king or a queen. They can do whatever they want, and we live with it. And this is one of those things that happens in that. So,
well, Bert, I want to tell you how much I am appreciating the fact that you're on the air. I do want you to comment on one last choice, though, of voting for here in the state of Idaho. Real quick, I've only got about a minute left, but the choices for our Supreme Court.
Zeb, you've got two people. I think you're going to end up with about the same, either one you get. I'm personally going to vote for McKenzie. The reason I am going to do that is because I'm really nervous when the prosecuting attorneys and all of the attorneys support one of theirs. That makes me really nervous.
God's blessings.
And my nephew, who is a prosecutor, if he hears this, will probably send me to jail. There's one other race I wanted to talk to you about, but I know you and I are on a different page, and that's Mike Simpson. I know how you feel about it, and I don't have any problem with that. But remember, if you send the young lady back that is running against him, that you'll have more education. That's been one of the things the Democratic Party has been pushing, is more money for education. Well, so what?
Yeah.
There is no more money. We have to live with it. We've increased Idaho's education funding over the last 3 years a tremendous amount, and we'll continue to do it. But they can't have everything they want. That's a union that will always want more than they could get.
You know, let me just say this, Bert. Bert, let me just say this about Mike Simpson, and I think maybe you will be surprised at my remarks. Personally, I don't like Mike for the way that he has treated various situations and myself in those situations. But to replace him with someone that does not have the educated philosophies to understand the very seriousness of the job, I think would be ill for the state of Idaho. So I am on the same page with you. It's just that I think Mike needs to reevaluate how he treats people, and especially those in the media.
Zeb, I have to agree with you on that 100%. And I don't know why people treat people the way they do sometimes. But unfortunately, he and I have had talks about that.
I do appreciate you.
Tell how effective I am.
Well, God bless you, my dear friend. Say hello to your lovely wife, Elaine, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on the program this morning. Representative Bert Stevenson, thank you.
Sorry to take so much time, Zeb.
Not at all. Thank you very, very much. One of my dear friends, and I mean that, Representative Bert Stevenson, and he's kind of a mentor to me, and I really cherish the fact that I can give him a call and get a lot of information. Thank you very much. I got to get some ads paid for here real quick. Don't forget our dear friends over at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. And, of course, Joel Heward, the manager, along with his family and the staff, always serving you and your family in a time of need when there's the passing of a loved one. They can travel to the rural towns and the churches to help you with all the facilities to get ready for an event that absolutely we all have to go through, and that is a funeral. And they always use and uphold the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. So please write the number down and give them a call at 436-5636, Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Want to remind you that Scott Bedke, State Representative, District 27A, and also the Speaker of the House, urges you to go vote tomorrow, November 8th. He's very concerned for Idaho and its growth and prosperity, and Scott Bedke urges you to vote yes on HJR5. And be sure to bring your picture ID to the polls when you go vote. Paid for by Representative Scott Bedke of Oakley, District 27A. Thank you very much. And a young man is running for CSI, and as a trustee in zone number 2, Rick Martin. He wants your vote tomorrow as a conservative choice for the CSI Board of Trustees. Rick is a graduate of Twin Falls High School and a graduate of the United States Air Force Police Academy in San Antonio, and he wants to work with everybody to make CSI more community and user-friendly. Don't forget Rick Martin for CSI Trustee, District 2, tomorrow on November 8th. Paid for by Rick Martin for CSI Trustee, Rick Martin, Treasurer. Last but not least, I get a chance to talk about my real good friend, and that's, of course, Senator Kelly Anthon. Kelly, of course, is running unopposed for State Senate seat District 27, a very conservative voice representing the Mini-Cassia area. He has served as a Burley City Attorney and Rupert City Attorney, and would encourage everybody to get out and vote tomorrow, November 8th, and vote yes on HJR 5. Don't forget Kelly Anthon running unopposed for Senate seat District 27, paid for by the co-chairs Denton Darrington, Dean Cameron, and Elaine Stevenson, Secretary. Let's go to the phone line right now. Busy day, the day before election, and we have with us a senior counsel with the Alliance Defending Freedom. I don't think I've had this gentleman on my program in the past. Looking forward to saying hello to him this morning, and that is Tyson Langhofer. Good morning, Tyson. How are you?
Good morning, Zab. I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Well, I tell you what, just to kind of sit back and take a deep breath for a second, Tyson, I'll tell you, the day before an election, it's like a zoo in this studio, and I'm the head monkey they're throwing peanuts at.
Sounds like an unenviable position.
Well, let me tell you, I did not get a chance to really review a lot of the information that just was handed to me on my desk a few moments ago as I learned that you were going to be on our program this morning. But I understand you're going to be talking about a topic that is near and dear to me, and that's our loss of free speech. Is that right, or am I wrong?
That's correct. That's correct. We, there's a real attack on free speech in many areas of our society, but especially on the public university campuses, and that's where I work on the Center for Academic Freedom with Alliance Defending Freedom, and we represent students and faculty across the country who are faced with the loss of their ability to speak freely, especially on important topics on public university campuses.
You know, I absolutely am taken aback. I got to tell you, Tyson, that I will refuse to have anyone come up to me, whether I'm standing on a street corner or whether I'm on a bus or whether I'm in some kind of a social circle somewhere, and try to stop my utilization and usage of free speech. I am not going to be relegated to a free speech zone. Why in the world are we putting up with this garbage?
Yeah, it is a scary situation, unfortunately, because what we're finding and what my experience has been in talking with students is, the culture that we've been raised in, there hasn't been a good educational foundation for individuals to understand fully what their First Amendment rights are. And so when they're faced with these barriers on campus, they simply say, well, that must be the law, and they go on down the road and don't really look any further into it. And so what we're finding is that these free speech zones that are in place at numerous universities and colleges across the country, they go unchallenged because students simply are unaware that they are unconstitutional. And but thankfully, in the case that we just issued a press release on today, we had a college student that was willing to stand up to that policy and to challenge it, and we were able to successfully take it down. And that's a great lesson for students and faculty across the country, that when these policies are challenged, that you can be successful in overturning them.
You know, I guess I've got to ask you the basics on this, Tyson, because I went through school and college in the 60s. I'm an old man. I can't imagine somebody coming up to me and saying, well, now, wait a minute, you've got to move down the street by that rose bush and stand behind that rose bush in that free speech zone before you can say anything. I'll guarantee you, with my very argumentative temper, I would have probably been hauled off to jail. Is that what they're threatening these kids with, is jail?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We're representing some students out of Michigan where that actually happened just several weeks ago. They were handing out copies of the Constitution and talking about their group, the Young Americans for Liberty, and they were accosted by administration and told that they needed to move to another area because they were interfering with students' ability to obtain an education by simply asking them questions and handing them out the Constitution. And they were arrested for trespass and booked and are still facing criminal charges for simply standing on a public sidewalk and educating students about their constitutional rights.
Many of these universities and colleges are public funded, which means myself, yourself, everybody is reaching into our pockets, and we're helping fund these institutions of so-called higher learning. And now they've turned into this Gestapo tactic that you can't talk about our Constitution. Explain more to me, because I'm about ready to hit the roof.
Well, here's the good news. Let's talk about the case of Brittany Morales here in Arizona. Brittany was a student at Paradise Valley Community College, and she was starting a new club, the Young Americans for Liberty Club, and she wanted to go out and educate students about the club and about their constitutional rights. And so she went out to the Paradise Valley Community College campus and set up a table, and she was actually in the free speech zone, the zone designated for this type of activity. And an administrator came out and said, "Hey, you need to move because you didn't first get a reservation 48 hours in advance of coming out here. I know you're in the speech zone, and I know you're not disturbing anybody or blocking traffic, but you have to get a reservation." And she declined and said, "No, I want to stay here. This is where the students are, and I want to talk with them." They eventually asked her to move, and she contacted us, and we filed a lawsuit, and we learned that Paradise Valley Community College was a part of the Maricopa County Community College District, which is 10 colleges, and that entire district had a policy which required the colleges to designate one area to be a free speech zone, and in this area Paradise Valley had less than 0.23% of the entire campus was the speech zone, a very narrow area. But we challenged that policy, and we just reached an agreement with Maricopa County Community College District where they agreed to modify that policy. And now all of the district's campuses are open to speech, anonymous and spontaneous speech by students without being relegated to a speech zone. And so the good news is when these policies are challenged, we are able to win them. I'm not aware of a court in the country that has upheld a speech zone like the one that Paradise Valley has. And so what we need is students that are willing to challenge these policies because they are unconstitutional. They've been held up as unconstitutional everywhere. Free speech on campus is a no-brainer. College students don't need a permit to talk to their classmates on campus. The only permit a student needs to speak on campus is the First Amendment.
Wait a minute, Tyson, I guess maybe I'm old and you're going too fast for me, but do you mean to tell me what constitutes having to use a free speech zone? What are you saying? What are you doing that all of a sudden, whoa, you got to get behind the ropes there, dude. You can't say that walking down the sidewalk. What are you not allowed to say?
Well, that's one of the problems, Zeb, with these policies is that administrators have the discretion to determine what type of speech should be in the zone and what type of speech should not be in the zone. And that's the really scary thing about this, is that we are, in these types of policies, we're granting some unelected administrator the right to determine who can speak in this zone and who can't speak. And it's very difficult for a student to know, hey, is this the type of speech that requires me to be in the zone or not? I represented some students at North Carolina State University, and that policy required you to have a permit to speak and engage in what they called non-commercial solicitation, and that actually was so broad that it said any oral speech to a passerby or handing out any written material, and which would literally, in my estimation, encompass basically every kind of interaction a student could have on campus. Obviously, they weren't enforcing it like that, but it allowed an administrator to determine which speech required a permit and which speech did not.
Wow.
And that's why the Supreme Court has struck down these policies, and they said we cannot grant government officials the right to determine which speech has permission to, which person has permission to speak and which person does not.
I am sitting here in awe of this situation, Tyson, because I never thought in my lifetime I would be listening to such garbage as having somebody tell me that's permissible or that's not permissible. I'm walking down the street talking to a friend. I can't say that. I've got a radio in my hand, and it might be broadcasting my very conservative program, but yet I could be thrown in jail. This is not America, Tyson.
It absolutely is not, and I agree, and that's why we're doing what we're doing, because I'm out every day talking to college students and trying to encourage them to stand up to these type of unconstitutional policies, because we should not, and the First Amendment says that we do not have to obtain the permission from a government official before we speak. And somehow college administrators have this belief that somehow college students lose their right to speak freely on campus simply because they step onto campus. And as you gave the illustration, if I'm in a public park, I don't have to have permission to hand out some written material or talk with some individual about a cause that I'm passionate about. But yet, somehow, college administrators believe that they can require students to get prior permission, sometimes weeks in advance, to simply hand out pamphlets or talk with other students about some cause. And unfortunately, many times they are enforced in a discriminatory manner against ideas that are conservative ideas, ideas that are not in line with the campus orthodoxy.
Tyson, when I hear you, and you're very eloquent about explaining this, but I'm also extremely scared, I guess worried, that what could happen tomorrow with the presidential election if Hillary gets in as president and her picks and supports for new nominees to the Supreme Court, we could very easily, and I mean this, I'm dead serious about this, see the ruination of our Constitution and its amendments. How worried are you?
Well, it is absolutely crucial to our society to have judges, especially federal judges, that interpret the Constitution, and that interpret that Constitution in a way which it was originally drafted. And the First Amendment was drafted very broadly. And the First Amendment, what people need to understand, and this is something that is not understood on college campuses, the First Amendment was designed to protect the minority's speech. ideas that were outside of the majority. And the majority can protect their own speech. It's the minority's speech, the unwanted views that the First Amendment was designed to protect. And what you're finding on college campuses, and in fact with some federal judges and the way they enforce it, is that they are willing to allow the minority speech to be suppressed. And so you're absolutely right that the appointment of federal judges is absolutely crucial in determining and protecting our rights, because the Constitution can only be enforced by our courts, and if our courts are willing to undo the protections of the First Amendment, then the Constitution is basically worthless.
Yeah. One final thought, and I want to make sure that I'm very clear about this, that I am absolutely, adamantly against anything so-called a free speech zone. But I want you to address quickly, if you can, this would also stop your coming onto my program. It would stop my radio program. The villainous attitude that the left is trying to stop all free speech would also entail our radio program interviews too, wouldn't it?
Absolutely. If we're not willing as a society to protect a college student's speech on campus, then there's no limit to what we're willing to accept. And so it would go to radio programs. It would go to books. We represent individuals who were fired from their jobs simply for writing a book. And so it's not going to stop on college campuses. What happens on campus doesn't stay on campus. It moves into the broader culture. And so we've got to stand up for the First Amendment everywhere, but especially on college campuses where the next generation is being educated and need to understand how important our First Amendment is to the protection of our culture and our American identity.
Wow, you got to promise that you'll come back in the future. Senior Counsel Tyson Langhofer, excellent with the Alliance Defending Freedom. Sir, you did a wonderful job. Thank you for being on the program this morning.
Thanks for having me, Zeb.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. I'm so upset about our so-called elitists saying, well, you can't say that. Well, we're going to call the police. This is absolutely insane. We've got to get a weather forecast on here right now. I got a whole bunch of things I got to get on here in the next 15 minutes, and also your phone calls. Call me at 436-2244. The weather brought to you by Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company CPAs. The very, very best serving you. Curtis Pope, Todd Phillips, Rob Oaks, Mitch Goodwin, Lyden Crane. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. Two locations, 1710 Overland in Burley and 625th Street in Rupert. Here's Gina with the weather.
Well, good morning as we saddle up and ride on this November 7th. And here's your weather forecast for the week. And it's going to be really, really nice. Not really feeling like November. Today, partly cloudy skies, high of 58 with an overnight low of 34. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, 63 with an overnight low of 37. Wednesday through Friday, wow, it is going to be absolutely beautiful. Sunny skies, highs are going to be in the low to mid-60s and lows in the mid-30s. Yesterday's high was 60. The overnight low was 33. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
And brought to you by Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company CPAs. It's getting closer to the end of the year. Work with the best on your tax return preparation, tax planning, business consulting, all of this and more at Pope Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, and Company in Burley and Rupert. The best. Oh, my goodness. We got to get this in. Big Green says thank you. Don't forget to put Wednesday, November 9th on your calendar to attend the Customer Appreciation and Open House at Stotts Equipment John Deere at 119 Overland and Burley. Food, fun, and prizes at Stotts Equipment, your John Deere dealer, saying thank you, and let's farm together in the future. Remember, 8 to 4 on Wednesday. Open House at Stotts Equipment, 119 Overland and Burley, and go green. Absolutely. Woo, got a lot of things to talk about. I still got time for some of your phone calls. Don't forget Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, they know. They can help you with all your life insurance, health insurance, and your retirement planning and employee benefits. Make an appointment today. Call them on the landline at 436-4424. Very dedicated and responsive to your needs in serving you, Cameron Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Oh, yeah, and also over in that neck of the woods or over in that strip of road, don't forget 270 Highway 24. Let's ride. Oh, my goodness, they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, open Saturdays, 9 to 5. They've got a whole bunch of brand new snowmobiles over there, and they've got also, listen to this, closeout prices on a lot of the 2016 four-wheelers and side-by-sides, and man, have they got an accessory department. And oh, howdy, have they got a great service department to keep you running and having fun. Don't forget Let's Ride, where the fun is sold, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. You get over there and see them today. Excuse me. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Caller, good morning. You are on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Deb. I have a question for you.
Uh-oh.
What is your take on what will happen tomorrow?
You want my kind of an outlook, crystal ball gaze? Is that what you're asking me?
I do. You always ask all of us questions, so here you go. You're in the limelight.
I respect that. I really do. Here's my thinking. I think there is literally millions, there are millions and millions of people that are so distraught right now with the way this government is going and the way this government has been. I think that if Hillary Clinton is elected, I think we're going to see a groundswell of support to go after her and her administration to make sure that the illegalities are addressed and possibly even an impeachment. I hope our senators and our congressmen do not weaken. I hope they show the backbone that we elected them for to go after her and her insidious administration in the furtherment of Obamacare and the furtherment of adding liberals to the Supreme Court and ruining our Constitution. I fear for this country. I have a great fear tonight when I go to bed, waking up tomorrow, knowing the polls will open and knowing that the Clinton power machine is out there trying to do everything they can to take the election away from the people.
Well, I agree with you 100%. And I have tried to make peace in my mind that although I'm not necessarily comfortable voting for Trump, I am really comfortable with his running mate. And I'm not comfortable with Hillary. And I think, oh my goodness, there is such a possibility that neither of the people that are running will be in office and that we will have to deal with the running mate. That I hope people are looking at that as well, not just the forerunner.
I want to thank you for being so open and honest and straightforward this morning. You're a very nice lady, and please call me again Wednesday after the dust has started to settle, and we'll see where we go.
Okay, I will.
God bless you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Very nice lady right there, and I appreciate her remarks. Don't forget Clark Kaufman, State Representative of District 25B, wants your vote again, and he encourages you to go vote tomorrow and vote yes on HJR 5, an amendment to the Idaho Constitution to ensure the separation of powers of the executive and legislative branches. Don't forget, vote tomorrow, November 8th, paid for by the committee to elect Clark Kaufman, Debbie Kaufman, treasurer. And ladies and gentlemen, another person that has been so great on this program, supplying us with information, Fred Wood, running unopposed for State Representative District 27. Fred, of course, on the Health and Welfare Committee and on the Resources and Environment Committee. And he has listened and worked for all of us in the southern part of the state and inclusive of the whole state. He's been very generous in his help for the state of Idaho, and he says, please go vote tomorrow and vote yes on HJR 5, paid for by Fred Wood for House seat number 27. And another party, too, that we talked about earlier this morning, and I want to reiterate, Steve Hartkin is running for State Representative District 24B. Good man, strong Republican incumbent with a very high conservative rating on a wide range of issues for the state of Idaho. So please remember tomorrow, November 8th, when you go to the polls, vote yes for Steve Hartkin on November 8th for the Idaho State Legislature and the House of Representatives for District 24B, paid for by Steve Hartkin Campaign Committee. Caller, I've got 2 minutes. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Zeb, when you was talking to Bert Stevenson, there's another person on the ballot. We don't have to vote for the Democrat or the Republican. He's running against Simpson. I've heard him talk. He's really good. It's the Constitution Party. And that's who I'd suggest people put their vote behind.
Well, I certainly appreciate your input on that this morning.
Yeah, he's. I don't, like I said, I don't have the vote ballot in front of me, but I can't remember his name. But he's. I've heard him talk. Good guy.
Sir, you are always welcome on this phone conversation with this program. Thank you for your input this morning. God bless you, and go vote tomorrow, sir. Thank you. All right. I appreciate all the calls. I really do, each and every one of you. And I don't mind being put on the spot when, like that lady called a few minutes ago. I have very, very strong feelings about this election. I have very, very insecure feelings about this election. I worry about America. I worry about what's going to happen with my grandchildren and future generations. I worry about the twisting, turning, and possibly shredding of our Constitution. I worry for our United States of America. Go vote. Oh, my goodness. Coming up next hour, we're going to talk to a lovely lady that has been on my program numerous times in the past, and I really enjoy having her on the show. Susan Swift is going to be on the program talking to me about, and you about politics. And then at 10:32, Andrew Chavarria. We may not agree. It should be pretty interesting, that last interview, so stay tuned. Right now, Wheels over at the station is going to play this good word for Senator Mike Crapo and then take us up to CBS News. Oh my, the day before election, November 8th, Zeb at the Ranch, and to say the least, I am busier than a one-armed paper hanger this morning. Oh my, brought to you by, of course, our great friends, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and of course, some of our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call 734-6969. Some of the great folks that are running for election and re-election, Maxine Bell, State Representative, position District 25A. She says thank you to all the people for allowing her to serve the citizens of Jerome and Twin Falls County. Get out and vote tomorrow, November the 8th. And she urges you to vote yes on HJR 5 and also vote for Maxine Bell, District 25A, tomorrow, paid for by re-elect Maxine Bell for State Representative, Linda Burton, Treasurer. By the by, as you've been hearing me talk on this program, vote yes tomorrow on HJR 5. Don't let activist courts take away our legislature's authority to approve or reject agency rules. Vote yes on HJR 5. It prevents state agencies from implementing overreacting and burdensome rules that negatively impact your life and leisure. Vote yes on HJR 5, paid for by Speaker Scott Bedke, Representative Fred Wood, and Senator Kelly Anthon. And don't forget, too, that Clark Kaufman, District 25B, wants your vote tomorrow on November 8th. And, of course, he wants you also to vote yes on HJR 5, an amendment to the Idaho Constitution to ensure the separation of powers of the executive and legislative branches. Vote tomorrow for Clark Kaufman, District 25B, paid for by the committee, Debbie Kaufman, Treasurer. Woo! All that being said, and right now I'm going to go to the phone lines. I'm very honored and blessed to have a lady that she has been so interesting on past programs, and I hope she'll commit to coming back many more in the future. She knows politics, and I respect her opinion. Susan Swift, how are you this morning?
Oh,
I'm very well, Zeb. Thank you so much for having me back on.
Well, it's my pleasure, and I guess the way I'd like to start this conversation this morning, Susan, is I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm very concerned about tomorrow's election. Kind of give us a recap as to how you feel.
I feel the same way you do. I don't even want to wake up in the morning and see what is the latest headline or on Drudge or anything. I just, every day, there's some new twist or turn. And while it's kind of exciting, I don't like the stress anymore because there's no one that knows what's going to happen. It seems to be neck and neck. I guess if there is good news, the most accurate poll is the IBD poll. It's the Investors Business Daily poll, and it has for many, many years been the most accurate predictor of presidential elections. And they've got their own chart that even shows how accurate they were in past years. And right now, the IBD poll shows Donald Trump up 2 points, but it's very close. Now that's a national look, and as you know, at this point in the game, I mean, we're really talking about regions. We're really talking about the battleground states. A national poll it's a good bellwether to see how excited and how fired up people are, but it's really going to come down to sometimes county by county and state by state, and both of the candidates are doing their big final sweeps through places like Florida and Virginia and New Hampshire and all of those battleground states where there are, it's going to be a county by county thing, and its turnout is going to determine it. And so if there are people in these states that can encourage their friends to come out and vote, that helps. Every vote should count, and the only way that you get your vote counted is by going and voting. So it's going to come down to the wire, and it's going to be close. The interesting thing for me in all of this is at the end of the day, whichever candidate wins, I don't think unless there's something out there that these pollsters, not we, you and I, we're regular folks, but these pollsters keep telling us it's so tight. I wonder though, is there a groundswell? Is there this hidden number of people who haven't voted in many, many years, sometimes maybe never registering until this race? A lot of people who've been disenchanted and disaffected and mad. I've been voting since I was 18, and I've voted Republican my whole life, and I've been so mad, so furious that there have been times. There was one time I very briefly changed my party registration from Republican to Independent because I'm so mad, and I didn't want to vote. I always have. There are a lot of people who haven't voted for a long time and said, I'm just not going to pay attention. There's not a dime's worth of difference between these two. I'm not going to bother. What if they're coming back? What if they're voting more? And that is suggested, it's hinted at in this IBD poll and others that say, there's no way to calculate. If people get off their couches and come in and vote, these polls, all they can do is kind of guess. And I'm hoping that enough people can see the corruption that's going on in our government, in just the Washington establishment. And there's corruption at all levels of it. We've seen the DOJ now. I feel that it's been corrupted because of power and fear. And if we don't drain the swamp, if we don't get in here as we the people and make our voices known, we'll have only ourselves to blame when we're shackled with more debt and shackled with a bigger federal government telling us what we can and cannot do.
Let me ask you this, Susan, and I know you've always been very forthright and straightforward and honest on this program, and I know you won't stop now. You're like me. I'm going to tell it the way it is. I feel, and I want you to concur with me or disagree with me, I honestly feel that the Clinton power machine got to James Comey and the FBI and the DOJ headed by Loretta Lynch and their chance, quote-unquote, meeting with Bill Clinton on the airport tarmac in Phoenix. All of this plays a big role in Loretta Lynch staring down James Comey and saying, no, there will be no subpoenas, there will be no more investigation. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree generally with what you're saying. That's my sense. I don't have anything that proves that. But what you just mentioned something very, very important, that
meeting on the tarmac between Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton. You got to remember, that was before we knew that there was the investigation into the Clinton Foundation. That was the big bombshell last week, that the FBI has been investigating the Clinton Foundation. Now, that's separate and apart from the email scandal. Okay, Emailgate is, did Hillary send or receive, classified information on her private server that she had, in the homebrew bathroom? All right, and yeah, we know she has. We've seen that. And Comey came out and explained that yes, she had done that, but no reasonable prosecutor was going to go after her. That's Emailgate. That's separate from the Clinton Foundation. And getting back to that tarmac, when Bill Clinton was talking to Loretta Lynch, I just wonder, was he really talking about Emailgate, or was he talking to her about Clinton's Foundation and about the big money and saying, hey, Loretta, let's not go there.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that investigation is continuing at the FBI. That is going on. The Emailgate, the one that Comey has just come out and talked about, said, well, we haven't found any recent emails on the Weiner, Anthony Weiner's server. Well, we haven't changed our mind yet. He's flip-flopping on that, and yet it does feel like somebody got to him. But the Clinton Foundation investigation is still going on. Now, there's one other thing that I've found very interesting, and I think I've only seen 1,000 views on YouTube. This is a Fox News report, and it was yesterday. Louis Gohmert said they can't. Now, Louis Gohmert is, he's a congressman. He said they can't prosecute Hillary without prosecuting Obama. And that's on investigation with Fox News. And Gohmert was saying how we are not going to, Comey is not going to go up against anyone to recommend prosecution while we have the Obama administration. So your sense is, that's what Gohmert is saying, is exactly what you just said, Zeb, which is, look, everybody knows that Comey can't bring anything under Loretta Lynch, and while we have the Obama DOJ, no one's going to prosecute Hillary without prosecuting Obama.
Absolutely.
That means that there's a link there. There's something going on in this investigation that would seem to, maybe Gohmert knows a lot more than they're saying, but they can't prosecute Hillary without prosecuting Obama.
Absolutely.
There are. You will recall that Obama had a pseudonym email, another email that he was using to email to Clinton on her private server, and Abedin found out about it and said, "Oh, gee, shouldn't we do something about this?" So there are emails out there from Obama that he didn't use in his official capacity, and I've wondered and I've written about, well, won't those be actionable? Are those actionable under the Espionage Act? And if they are, won't President Obama need a pardon if this investigation continues going forward as it might be?
Absolutely. The plot thickens like a spider web.
And I've written about this at Politichicks.com. Obama does not need a reason to pardon Hillary Clinton. The power of the presidential pardon is plenary. It flows like mercy. It as Shakespeare says, it droppeth as the rain from heaven. It blesses, those on earth. It just flows like water and rain. All right. So the power to pardon someone is a great power, and it's used only occasionally. But he doesn't need a reason. He doesn't need charges. So Clinton doesn't need to be indicted by the DOJ or anyone to receive a pardon. And Obama has time, especially since the polls are so tight, to watch and let this play out. And another thing that Louis Gohmert said on this Fox interview, he said, as long as, this is not a direct quote, this is what I recall from watching, as long as Hillary Clinton doesn't directly criticize Obama, they're going to leave her alone. They won't indict her. Nothing's going to happen so long as she's not criticizing Obama, and she hasn't. So Obama has enough time to let this play out in the public arena, and then at the end of election night or the next few days, if Hillary wins, she's in the clear, right? Mm-hmm. Because the Obama administration is going to simply hand off to the Clinton administration. The DOJ is not going to prosecute, and Obama is going to ride into the rescue. He'll be able to say, let's bring closure to this very divisive campaign. The American people have spoken. WikiLeaks has shown everything. We've had a federal investigation by the FBI, turned up nothing. I think we need to bring closure to this entire matter. I am therefore going to, pardon Hillary for any picadillos that she did with this classified private email server, these few emails that she did send, plus anything else that she may have done. That's what Ford did for Nixon after Nixon was found, to be guilty with all of the Watergate business. Ford pardoned him for that plus anything else. Now, Obama can do the same thing. He can point to the few emails that we know Hillary Clinton lied and she did send to this classified email. He can pardon her for that, plus anything else, wrap it all up. Therefore, there's no more investigation into Clinton Foundation or anything, I suppose.
Absolutely.
Just wipe it all out with a pardon.
Absolutely.
January 20th rolls around, and Madam President Hillary Clinton, newly sworn in, can turn around and return the favor to
Absolutely.
Obama, because that way there won't be any investigation of any possible misdealings by Obama that might be uncovered at this Clinton Foundation or going through the rest of these emails that's still out there. They've wrapped this up very quickly in 8 days. So I don't think Obama needs to pardon her yet. What he needs to do is wait to see how the election goes. And the polls are very tight, and no one can predict it. But there's no sense to pardon her now, since the FBI has come out and said, well, the emails, there's nothing there in the emails. But you've got to remember, there's still Clinton Foundation out there. And we also don't know all of the investigation that's been going on for a year. And we don't know how the emails that have been recently discovered by the investigation into Anthony Weiner connect to the Clinton Foundation. So there's a lot that we don't know. But watch for, if Obama's going to pardon her, he's not going to pardon her until we know what the election is. And if she loses, that would be very interesting too. Would Obama pardon Hillary to shut down any prosecution by a Trump administration? Because as Louis Gohmert says in his interview on Fox, he said the only way to actually get to the bottom of this is for Trump to win, and we basically, the administration fires Loretta Lynch, gets rid of the Comey, and starts fresh with a new administration at DOJ. If that were to happen, and President Clinton is still and President Obama is still in office, he could conceivably pardon Hillary just to shut down the investigation.
Absolutely.
So there's a lot riding on this election. If we want to see justice done, do we want to see a thorough investigation by a special prosecutor? Do we want real justice to be done and to actually look at something fresh with a disinterested party? Or are we going to continue to have these partisan bickering back and forth with, well, the Republicans say this and then the Democrats say that? And I think it's sick. And the thing to me as a lawyer, what I'm watching above all of this is I'm watching politics corrupt the law of this land.
Absolutely.
Corrupting our judicial system. The judges, everything are becoming corrupted by power. And that is the greatest, I think, the greatest sin that we can commit in America is to destroy the foundation of our Constitution and our judicial law that protects people so that everyone is treated equally and there is truly justice for all. And if this is allowed to continue, if we're allowing the continual political use of the DOJ, the political use of the FBI on both sides and on either side, I don't care where, if we can't have a very careful and dispassionate looking at what the law says and looking at the facts, if we can't do that, we are damaging our country and our laws, and that is the greatest sin that is being committed by this entire process, and it outrages me. I'm sorry I'm going on a little bit. I apologize.
You know, Susan, we have a caller with a question. I think they're still on the line. Caller, go ahead quickly. I've got exactly 3 minutes left. Go ahead, please.
Yes. The question I would have for your guest is, Terry McAuliffe is giving permission for 67,000 people to be released from prison to vote.
Yeah.
In my short lifetime of 79 years, I always thought the law said if you've been convicted of a felony, you lose your right to vote.
All right. Thank you very much, caller. I'm going to have Susan respond to that. Susan, please keep in mind I've got about 2.5 minutes left. Go ahead, please.
Okay. The state laws are what control. Federal law is supposed to be underneath state law, and state law in this case would control. So if Terry McAuliffe is wanting to change the laws of Virginia to all of a sudden say that felons are no longer felons and that we can go ahead and give them back the right to vote, that's a state law matter. And you know what? The people in the state of Virginia can change that. They can get rid of governors who subvert the law, and they can make sure that their laws say what they want to do. That's why it's so important, local control, local elections, and that we know what's going on, that our laws are obeyed by our politicians. And a state can do what it wants with its law, and the people have the right to go back and change it and make sure that these politicians don't do what they don't want done with their state laws.
Susan, I absolutely know you're going to be following all the events of tomorrow, and I urge you to please consent to coming back on in the next couple of days after this election, and we'll kind of get a feel and a pace for what's going to happen leading up to January 20th, regardless of whether it is Trump or Hillary. But I want to compliment you on an excellent job writing for Politichicks, and also your job as a lawyer, a mom, etc. You are always welcome on this program. Thank you for taking the time to be here this morning.
Oh, thank you, Zeb. I really appreciate the opportunity, and everybody go out and vote, and God bless America.
Amen. That's a great way to end it. Susan Swift, and we'll have her back right after the elections. Thank you so much, and God bless. Appreciate it. Wonderful lady right there, and I've got some bills to pay real quick. I want to remind you, Big Green says thank you. Wednesday, November 9th, this week, day after tomorrow on your calendar to attend the Customer Appreciation and Open House at Stotts Equipment, John Deere at 119 Overland Avenue in Burley. Food fun prizes at Stotts Equipment. Your John Deere dealer saying thank you, and let's farm together in the future. Remember, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. Open House at Stotts Equipment, 119 Overland in Burley, and go green. Want to remind you, too, on Thursdays, we have a segment on our program called Cassia County School Days, and our thanks go out to two wonderful sponsors of that segment, and they are A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, and boy, they've got everything over there, all the toys and the family games, the books, the puzzles, and you know what? It's time to start thinking about Christmas shopping. And they've got everything over there for you and your family at A Child's World. 1308 Overland in Burley. Along with the Ambulatory Surgery Center, and they're located at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. The number to remember, 677-8888. Remember, for colonoscopies and eye surgeries, dental procedures, please call and learn how they can save you money. Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue in Burley. The number to call again is 677-8888. Please remember that number. Tomorrow, a big day. It is Election Day 2016, and like we've been trying to preach all morning long, be aware of what the candidates are and what they represent, and go to the polls tomorrow and vote. We urge you to do that. It is your patriotic duty. Want to remind you, too, as we go through some of our list of people that are running for re-election and election, Steve Hartkin, State Representative, District 24B, wants your vote to return to the Idaho House of Representatives. Very high conservative rating, a very strong supporter of the Second Amendment, right to own firearms, for prayer in schools, and also supports the right to life and water rights in Idaho, and multiple use of public lands. Vote for Steve Hartkin tomorrow, November 8th, and remember, this ad paid for by Steve Hartkin Campaign Committee. And we also want to remind you about a gentleman that's running for Minidoka County Commissioner, District 2, Kent McClellan. He's a native of Minidoka County, local businessman who is pro-economic growth, and he's been your county commissioner for 6 years and wants to get re-elected in District Number 2. So remember, when you go to the polls tomorrow, re-elect Kent McClellan for Minidoka County Commissioner, District 2, paid for by the committee, Rick Stimson, Jr., Treasurer. In just a few moments, we are going to send this back over to our main studios for a break at the bottom of the hour. And coming up after that break will be Andrew Chavarria, and kind of an interesting debate on whether to vote or not to vote. So we're going to be having him on the air in about 4 or 5 minutes, and it should be, I've got my opinion, he's got his, and we'll both respect each other. We'll see what happens. Don't forget Lennox, Ramsey Heating and Electric, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Don't forget to call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Absolutely. We are going to take a little break right now, send it back over to my old buddy Wheels, and we'll be back in just about 3 minutes.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Thank you much. We'll have our guest with us in just a moment. Stay tuned. Big Green says thank you. Don't forget Wednesday, November 9th on your calendar to attend the Customer Appreciation and Open House at Stotts Equipment, John Deere at 119 Overland Avenue in Burley. Food, fun, and prizes at Stotts Equipment, your John Deere dealer, saying thank you and let's farm together in the future. Remember, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. open house at Stotts Equipment Company, 119 Overland and Burley. Go green. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, a person that has not been on my program before, but I'm looking forward to our conversation here this morning. He is a combat veteran and a Christian evangelist. Let's introduce and say good morning, and I hope I say his name correctly, Andrew Chavarria. Good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Zeb. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Andrew, give us a little background on who you are, what you've done, and why you're on this program this morning.
Well, like you said, I mean, I'm a Christian evangelist right now, first and foremost. I've been in political activism for a while, pretty much ever since I got out of the military, and just overly concerned about our nation. I've been working, like I said, on the grassroots level for a while, and working for political campaigns and candidates, and really pushing principles and conservatism across our nation, and really fighting for the defense of Christian liberty and our founding principles.
You know, you and I may disagree on certain aspects of our conversation this morning, but one thing I can guarantee you, we'll do it in a much more amicable way than Trump and Hillary have done. That leads us up to this election. What are your thoughts about what I think is the most important election that America has ever seen in this country tomorrow, November 8th? What are your thoughts?
Well, I think you're very right. I think America is at the it's at an Oedipus, if you will, and it can tip in either direction. And I think this election is crucial to the success of America. I'm not overly thrilled on either side of the aisle with either candidate, I cast my vote according to my principles and my beliefs, and I know that vote's probably been offset 100 times over. But at the end of the day, like you said, I mean, we have to be able to have amicable conversations. And I will say this, my vote was an informed vote. It was a principled vote, and it was a vote according to my personal principles and beliefs. But I do believe that America's going to have to make a choice today. And the choice, in my opinion, and this is just, I mean, like I said, it's my opinion, the choice is between corrupt and crazy. Which one does America want at this point? And, we have to decide what flavor of Kool-Aid we want to sip on, I guess.
You know, I can't disagree with what you said, corrupt and crazy, but I will say this. I look at this thing, Andrew, and I look at it as a vote for our Constitution, a vote for our Supreme Court, a vote for possibly getting the legislature, the Congress, and the Senate back involved, as opposed to a dictatorship on the left. That's how I view this election in simplistic terms. How would you disagree with me?
Well, you know, I would agree and disagree both in the same side. You know, when I look at this election, there is this wild card that is Donald Trump, right? We don't know what he's going to do, and that scares me in and of itself. However, you know, when it comes down to, you know, and I've heard the Supreme Court argument, and I understand where we are with our Supreme Court. But a couple of things need to be understood, regardless of who the candidate is. We have a legislative branch that has, in history past, blocked Supreme Court nominees. They've done it before. Now, will I count on this Congress to do it again? I don't know. I don't necessarily have a huge amount of faith in them being able to do that and force this to a moderate or center you know, type deal if Clinton were elected or if Trump were to put somebody else in there that he hasn't listed. He's mentioned before his sister. She's I believe it was a sister, crazy liberal. You know, the Supreme Court in and of itself is one part of the trifecta that our founders envisioned, right? And one of the things that we have done as Americans, and this is what I think we need to understand, this has opened the dialogue for a very important conversation that I think conservatives are missing the mark and not having. While we are very concerned about the Supreme Court and who those nominees will be, what we need to be doing now at this point in our nation's history is opening the dialogue about what the Supreme Court can and cannot do, because for a decade now, they have been legislating from the bench, and that is unconstitutional. And, you know, we have to realize that, we have to understand that, and we have to start getting Congress to do their job so that the Supreme Court does not do it for them. Many of the things that passed, same-sex marriage, some of the, the Hobby Lobby incident with the birth control, all of these things getting up to the Supreme Court and on those things, and them having a say on either end. Those are not the actions necessarily of the Supreme Court. Their action is to interpret the law, not to pass the law. And we need to get back to I think that's the key conversation that we need to be having about the Supreme Court.
No, I agree with you. Andrew, actually, we're on the same page on almost everything here this morning. I just earlier this morning had an interview with an attorney for the Alliance Defending Freedom, and one of the more shocking stories about free speech and the lack thereof on our college campuses, calling the police if they're not standing in proper free speech zones. Our country right now is on the verge of falling into an abyss that I don't think they can ever get out of. And when we look at our constitutional values and we look at the corruption going on in government, my question to you is, Andrew, are we so far on the edge of the hill that we're going to fall off and never get this country on the right, straight, and narrow again?
My answer would be no. My answer would be no for this reason. America is a resilient country. We can handle 4 to 8 years of anything. But what has to happen, and here's where I didn't vote for Donald Trump. I cast my vote for the top write-in candidate on our ballot, which was Darrell Castle, okay? And I get it. People are going to disagree with me on my vote. Like I said, my vote was principled, it was informed, and it was based on my personal beliefs. And that's why I cast my vote for the presidency that way. And I know, number one, I know that my vote's going to be offset probably 50-1, like I've said before. But here's what has to happen. November the 9th has to be exactly what 9/12 was to us after 9/11. We have to be able to find the grit, the resolve, and the inspiration as Americans to be unified, regardless of who the candidate is, or regardless of, rather, who the president is at that point. And we have to be willing to band together and fight for our nation on November the 9th, as much as we have fought with the vitriol, the divisiveness, and the passion and fervor that we have fought up until tomorrow.
Yeah, but wait a minute, Andrew. As a Christian,
handle that so that we can be able to fight for our nation regardless. I mean, look, if Trump wins, the last thing I want to see is Hillary Clinton in the White House. One of the things that scares me is to see Donald Trump in the White House. But one of those two are going to be in there, right? And I'm going to hold Donald Trump's feet to the fire of what he has said that he would do on the campaign trail, the same way that I would hold any candidate to the fire and make sure that they are doing what it is that they said they are going to do. And Hillary Clinton, my goal would be to fight against and block all of the liberal progressive policies that only make way for socialism. I'm going to fight for America, period, on November the 9th, the same way that I have been for long before this election cycle happened. And I hope that every American that has been divisive, that has been angry, passionately infuriated, passionately pushing their candidate on Facebook, I hope that that passion continues. But I hope it continues in a way that will help America fight back.
Okay, now when you hear the moo of a cow on my program, it means we have a call, but I want to make a statement to you and give me a short answer on this, Andrew. I've said for many, many days on this program that I cannot go in lockstep. If Hillary wins, I cannot accept the policies of the left. I cannot accept partial birth abortion. I cannot accept the abortion principles. I cannot accept the left and their absolutely, I think, policies that are against society and against Christianity. I'm going to be a fighter just like you. I can't go in lockstep just to be united as a United States. If she wins, I can't do it.
Yeah, you don't have to. And that's the biggest thing. We've been living under liberal policy with the abortion argument for a very long time, and we have fought it here in Texas on the state level, passing the most stringent abortion in our nation. I'm blessed to have been a very big part of that bill and pushing that bill through, and I will continue fighting for that, and I will go to every state possible to help them fight for the same thing, just so we don't have to be in lockstep.
I agree with you. Caller, go ahead quickly. We're running short on time. Go ahead.
Okay, Zeb, I'll make this short. I think that your guest you have on there is just wishful thinking. If they can't get it together now, they won't get it together after the election for sure. So I don't believe in what he's thinking is reality. I think he's out in space somewhere, because if they can't get it together now, we're done for.
All right, I'll have him respond to you, caller. I appreciate the call. Andrew, please, if you would.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's wishful thinking. I think it's exactly what we've been doing for over 200 years. We've had divisiveness. George Washington himself said that the two-party system would be the demise of our nation, but we have regularly fought against that system, and we have made it to where we are today, like we never have before. And we are still a leading nation, and it's because of our people, not because of anything else.
I agree with that statement, but I think that right now, you can go into the past. You can go back into the Washington era after the Revolutionary War. You can go into the Civil War period with Lincoln. You can go into any era, if you will, politically in our country. But honestly, Andrew, I think that where we are today, with the pushback against Christianity, a pushback against family values, a pushback against the amendments of our Constitution and our Constitution in general, it's more severe today than ever before in our nation's history.
Yeah. No, I agree with that 100%. And here's what we have to do as a people. And I'm going to defend, if you will, because I know a lot of people wanted to hear me say something similar to this effect. Why was I able to vote for someone like Darrell Castle and not either of the major party nominees and feel okay about it? Number one, I feel okay about it because I voted according to what my faith teaches me. But second is I cast my vote that way because of this very simple aspect. I have been on the ground fighting for Christian principles, for those things, against the tide, if you will. And if you're willing to do that, if you are willing to continually wake up every single day of your life and fight for what you believe in, and fight for America, and fight for Christian principles, and fight for family values, vote whatever way you want. Find the candidate that you believe should be in office, and you continue to do that. But you got to continue to fight for those principles. You can't just say, well, we see them under attack and not do anything about it. You have to be willing to roll your sleeves up, get into grit, and fight.
I agree with that, Andrew, but then also make a concession and agree with me that the problem is not with a person or personality like yours or mine, because we are fighters. But when you look at our school systems, you look at our colleges and universities and the millennials' lack of understanding the values of this country, we've got a rough road to hoe.
We do have. I mean, and look. I mean, it's not going to be easy. And in fact, you know, I would go in and talk about the aspect, you know, the principle, the tenets of Christianity. You know, Jesus. If you read the end of the book, you read the book of Revelation. Jesus has promised us a victory. But if you read everything in between there, it talks about being a soldier of Christ. It talks about putting on the whole armor of God. It talks about fighting the good fight. It talks about warring the battle against the day. It talks about all of those things. You know, here's the thing, is we've been promised victory, but it doesn't mean we don't have to fight. And it's never going to be easy. We're talking about winning the heart and soul of a nation, and that is not an easy task to do. So I don't want anybody that's listening to the show to think, man, I'm just out there in La La Land or in space, as the caller said. Man, I know that we have a fight ahead of us. I just need warriors that are willing to fight next to me, and you and others like us.
You know, I've enjoyed having you on, and I'm going to call, save your number, and have you back in the future. Andrew Chevarria, thank you. Honestly, I mean that, for coming on the program this morning. God's blessings, and we'll see what the outcome's going to be tomorrow, and I'll call and have you back on the air. Thank you once again.
Thanks, Zeb. I appreciate it. God bless.
All right, sir. Thank you very much. Interesting conversation. A man that's really committed, a combat veteran, Christian evangelist, Andrew Chevarria, and I'll keep his name and number. We'll have him back in the future. Right now, holy smokes, I've got to get a weather forecast on here. Scarrows Meats brings you the weather. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew. Hello, Don. How you doing? 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Scarrows Meats, your locally owned custom meat processor for over 20 years. Oh, boy. They have some delicious meats over there at Scarrows Meats in Jerome. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, good morning as we saddle up and ride on this November 7th. And here's your weather forecast for the week. And it's going to be really, really nice. Not really feeling like November. Today, partly cloudy skies, high of 58 with an overnight low of 34. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, 63 with an overnight low of 37. Wednesday through Friday, wow, it is going to be absolutely beautiful. Sunny skies, highs are going to be in the low to mid-60s and lows in the mid-30s. Yesterday's high was 60. The overnight low was 33. That is your weather for Zeb at the Rain.
Oh, she does a great job. Gina, thank you very much. Brought to you by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. I don't want any excuses. The cat got its tail broken under the rocking chair. My car had a flat tire a week ago. I got it fixed, but I'm scared I might have another flat tire. I'm scared to drive it. I can't go to the polls. I hurt my little finger yesterday. All these kind of silly, absolutely lame excuses. I urge you to go to the polls tomorrow and vote. You know, I don't know why I should even have to tell you. It should be primary on everybody's mind to go to the polls and vote. Show your picture ID. Prove who you are. Be proud of who you are. Be proud to say to everybody, yes, I went and voted. But, you know, I know in my heart of hearts that there are many that are too lazy to put forth an effort to go vote. But they will be the first ones at the coffee shop on Wednesday that are denouncing the victors and saying, well, I can't support so-and-so. You didn't vote, keep your mouth shut. I honestly believe that. Use your patriotic duty to go vote. And I don't want to hear that, well, I don't like Hillary and I don't like Trump. Listen, I don't care whether you like them or not. You should have, by this time, studied the issues, studied the platforms, studied the other candidates as well that are extremely important that you vote. I know I sound hardcore on this. I don't apologize. Go vote tomorrow. Calls are welcome. I've got time. Give me a jingle quickly at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. While I'm waiting for your call that I know is coming in, don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations. Man, oh man, are they ready. They are ready for winter driving. And, they've published a really nice little resource guide about tire chains, like I said earlier this morning, how to install the tire chains, how to go in and get a free battery check on your battery, and if it's really low and old, replace that battery to be sure this winter. And then they talk about how to drive in the various winter conditions and the tires that you'll need for those various conditions. Wow! And have they got the tires for you to get through the snow, the ice, and the muck? You better believe it. Stop in and see them today. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland and Burley. They make up the best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today, please. Oh, my goodness. I understand. Wheels, get on your microphone there for a second. Would you please, sir? I understand that we have had a little problem with our internet feed. Is that been corrected, or is it still having a problem?
Actually, give me a few seconds, and I can pull that up real quick.
Okay, well, we'll look forward to that. Wheels, I appreciate you. And for those that did call in and say they were having a little trouble getting us on the feed, we understand that there was a little problem with the connection, and not on our part, but we're going to try to get that fixed. I know it'll be repaired by hopefully tomorrow at the latest. Yes, sir.
On my end, it does say that it's back up.
Okay.
Just so in that way, like you were saying, I did have that one lady that had called in to let me know about that. And so that's good that it's back up and running like it should be.
Okay, Wheels, I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you so much. Tomorrow on the program, you will probably notice, and I got to tell you, during election season, my wife and I, we really put forth an effort to get as many elective positions on the air as possible, all the different candidates, etc. And we have been running just absolutely a full log of advertisers and different political candidates. I want to tell them all, thank you. I mean this. I don't care if they're running for county commissioner. I don't care if they're running for senator. I don't care what the position. Thank you for your business. Thank you for your trust. And we've had a busy slate the last couple of weeks on ads. A lot of you folks said, well, how come you got so many commercials? Well, the reason is we needed to get all their voices heard, and I want to say thanks to everyone. Win or lose, thank you for running for a political office, and thank you for your trust in this program to run your ads with Zeb at the Ranch. We do appreciate it, and tomorrow, I'll just say, we wish you all well, okay? Tomorrow on the program, of course, Election Day, we're going to be urging you to go to the polls and vote. We're going to have Frosty Woolridge on the program. We're going to have Dr. History on the program, and we're going to have some very poignant political guests at 9:30 and 10:30 talking about the election tomorrow. So don't miss Zeb at the Ranch. We'll be on the air at 8:06 and go all the way to 11 with all the news, all the stories right here. And above all, we want to tell you how the way things were are the way things ought to be. God bless you and your family. Here's this good word for Senator Mike Crapo, and then Wheels is going to take us up to CBS News. Adios. We'll see you tomorrow morning.